Yes, it works. Hey, folks. And we have a lot of people here from the research team, which is super great. And I really appreciate your help during these meetings, especially during the small discussions that will be going on. It's really appreciated when you guys take care of the people who are not really into discussing. Fox is also always taking great pictures for us of these meetings, which is super fun to watch back. Even though these characters look a bit silly, it still shows the great collaboration that we have going on with each other. So let's wait for another 2 minutes to give everybody a chance to come in, and then we will start with the meeting. It's really great to see you all. Thank you for setting up the camera, Keith. I appreciate it. So this meeting will be recorded as well as goes the same for the other workshops we give. So if you are not able to join a meeting or a workshop and you really wanted to, you can go to the YouTube page of Educators in VR, and then you can watch back any workshop that we gave. So that's pretty cool. Let me check if I see some familiar faces here. Hey, Anthony. Good to see you.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good.
Cool. It's really funny to see that you're always standing at the same spot. You really have conquered your little area on in the audience, right? Creatures of habit, even if we are. Awesome. Hey, Lida. How are you doing? It's great to see you at every research meeting. It's super fun. All right. Let me quickly check if other people can join as well still. All right, enough space. That's great. I always feel bad when people really want to join, but the room is full. But this time it's not the case, so that's nice. So I'm really curious, who of you is new here, who has never been to a research meeting or workshop? Can you give me some emoticons? All right. Well, welcome. I hope you enjoy. It will be a pretty interactive meeting, and I hope that you get to know a lot of interesting people. That would be fun. Cool. I'm excited to get to know you guys as well. All right, let's get started, shall we? Everybody ready? So usually during these meetings, well, let me quickly give Fox mod tools. All right. Great. Okay, so usually during these meetings, I don't mute everybody because I think we are all mature enough to not scream. But please mute yourself. For example, it's not nice to hear you eat or hear you scribble around or hear any background noises. It's a little bit distracting, so take care of that yourself. You all get that responsibility. So during these meetings, you're free to ask questions anytime. And I have now activated the raise hand button. This is really handy because I can give you a megaphone. So if you have any questions during these meetings at all, please raise your hand. And at certain moments in time, I will give you some space to ask questions and we can answer them for you, or the audience can answer them for you. It's all about collaborating here. That's basically what we are here for. All right, so everybody has muted themselves. Everybody knows how to raise their hand. They raise their hand. It's in the bottom right of your screen. If you are not familiar with Altspace, you can just click on it once and I will get a notification that your hand is raised so I can answer your question. Yeah, so I saw a couple of new faces. I will let you know what this research team is all about in a minute. But first, I want to introduce you briefly to Luca, who is standing next to me on stage. Luca is a colleague of mine. He's a developer. He develops VR training, and he has also some experience with AR as well. So Luca will tell us a little bit about how to gather data, but we will dive deep into that in a couple of minutes. But I'm really happy that you're here. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Cool. All right. So I'm wondering, who has been to the workshop of Anthony Cheston a week ago? Awesome. Yeah, I really enjoyed the workshop. So as I already told you, if you have missed it and you're still interested in it, you can go to the YouTube page. So Anthony gave a workshop about VR and nature therapy using 360 nature videos to lower stress. The same goes for my presentation with Constance. You can also watch it back on YouTube channel. And that presentation was about simulating interactivity and creativity in Altspace VR. And we tried to show off screen sharing. I don't know if you guys remember the screen sharing session we had a couple of weeks ago. So we tried to do that live, which was pretty challenging and exciting. Did work. So if you're interested in seeing how that works, you can also check that video out. All right. I hope you guys are all well. It makes me, again, super happy to see your familiar faces again and to see new faces. And I am really interested in getting to know the new people as well this meeting. So a little introduction for the ones that are new here. I'm Evelien. I have a Bachelor of Science in Psychology, and I'm now finishing my Master's of Educational Science and Technology, with my final research being about assessment in VR, which means that I do research about how to collect data. I'm designing an algorithm that has to interpret the data and to get valid performance results out of VR training. So it's pretty complicated. I work for a small company as a psychologist and an educational expert considering VR training. And the company is called Serious VR, and it's the same company that Luca works for. So we develop VR training for technical vocational education. Next to this, I'm pretty active in the educators in VR community, and I'm currently the lead of the researchers in VR team. So the idea of the VR researchers meeting came to life during the beginning of the Corona crisis. Doing research is not easy, especially not now. But with the help of a community, it really gets easier and more fun, as you all notice right now. We discuss ideas, we network, we help and inspire each other. And these are basically the main goals of these researchers in VR meetings. Next to these discussion and networking meetings, we organize workshops, presentations, and whatever, where our community members share the knowledge, basically. For example, the FISWIC gave the workshop about these videos, but if you also have an interesting topic that you would like to present, you can always send me a message and we will discuss what we can do. It's really fun to get your input as well and let you share your knowledge with the community. Next to that, you can join the Educators in VR Discord. I can show you the link again. This Discord keeps us in contact when we are not meeting in VR. Here we can communicate with each other, and there are different sub-channels for discussion, for sharing articles, for helping each other out. I'm really curious who already joined the Educators in VR Discord. Give me some emoticons. Oh, awesome. I'm really glad. It's really cool to keep into touch with you guys, and it's definitely cool to see that you help each other out as well. Because we also launched a campaign, namely the VR Research Help Wanted campaign. The idea stems from the fact that during these times it can be really difficult to gather data, and therefore we created a new channel in our Discord called Research Help Wanted, and it's in the research category. So if you're doing any research in VR, AR, or XR, or any related topics, and you wish to spread the word about your project or about your research, you can post there, and our team will do our best to help, and the community as well. So that's really cool. And don't forget to help out others as well, of course. We are all in this together in the end. I'm not here alone. I'm here with my wonderful research team, which helped me organize and moderate these meetings. Without them, this wouldn't be possible. So thank you so much, Keith, Sam, Ron, Randy, Victoria, Fox, Diamond, Laurel is here as well. And now Luca is here as well. So thank you so much for helping out and making this all possible for us. Awesome. So let's go back to the planning. This is the planning for upcoming hour. The first thing we will discuss is the topic gathering data in XR environments. Last meeting, I gave you all a survey, and this was the most requested topic. So therefore, now it's the topic of this week. So as I already told you, I brought a special guest with me, Luca Vosler, who is my colleague at the Series VR. Next, we will start with a discussion, as always, where we will dive deeper into the opportunities and challenges of gathering data in XR environments. And of course, Luca and I will join the discussion as well. And you're free to help each other out, ask us questions, discuss whatever you like about gathering data. Furthermore, I would love to give some of you the chance to promote your research and ask the group for help if needed. After the discussion, we actually do this all the time during these meetings, and it's a nice opportunity to get your question out. And we will end with giving you a teaser for upcoming events for the research team. So we will give you any highlights that might be interesting for you. Right. So that's the planning for tonight. Let's dive into it. So, hey, Luca, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Okay, let me make sure you are put on megaphone, though. Okay, 1 second. All right, yes.
Megaphone. Yeah, thanks for the introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Luca. I'm a VR developer. I originally studied creative media and game technologies in the Netherlands. I'm from Germany. And yeah, I finished my bachelor and I was really passionate about VR, especially if it adds a lot of value. And I started working at Series VR last year. And I'm also active as a sound designer in a startup called Playground VR. So I'm all about VR or XR.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell.
Awesome. Cool. So when doing research about VR, AR, and XR, you can collect data in many different ways. For example, the ones that you are probably familiar with is a classic pre- and post-test on paper or in 2D after VR training, for example. You can also let participants fill in questionnaires. You can observe them while they are in VR, or you can maybe interview them about their experiences. So I'm curious, who of you has tried one of these ways of collecting data already, the ones that I just named? Never conducted an interview, never a questionnaire? I mean, I did a lot of questionnaires. Right, cool, yeah. So these are ways that we usually use to collect data, but with these new technologies, they basically offer a great opportunity to collect data in different ways, right? And they can even collect data while the participant is still in the experience as well. So Luca is here to tell us a little bit more about the hardware and software opportunities for data collection considering XR environments.
Exactly.
So after Luca's talk, we will have some time for questions for Luca, and maybe if you have questions for me, that's also fine. So can you tell us a little bit more about that, Luca?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I want to say today with all the technologies that we have, you can certainly collect all kinds of data that you want. So it really depends on what your needs are and what data you would like to collect or track to later possibly analyze. First I will talk a little bit about the hardware things. For example, you have a lot of new interfaces that are made for recognizing or collecting biometric data. For example, I don't know the name, but there's like a wristband, and it will track your heartbeat and basically in real time collect that data. Or also the HTC Vive Pro with eye tracking. So, for example, if you're working on a VR experience where it's really important to analyze, where your user is looking or gazing, this will certainly help you. You also have more traditional things like the leap motion that is for recognizing gestures, or even the Kinect that is a little bit older, but it does the same thing. But in general, if you use the state-of-the-art VR headsets, you can also use that to collect data, basically on the software side. For example, the HTC Vive Pro, I think a common use scenario would be that you want to see what your user is doing, or like record what your user is doing at what time. So for that, you would be able to track the position and the rotation of the headset, as well as the controllers. So you basically can take a snapshot of the positions and rotations every frame, or every other frame, depending on how much data size you want to save. And then you can record that. And also a lot of game engines, they work with kind of events. So for example, in Unity, it uses an event-based system. So for example, you also want to record or be able to track what the user is doing, right, at what time. So maybe the user is interacting with a tool or a certain object, or presses a button. Then you can store these kind of custom events and output that to a file, and then in the later stage, you know exactly what the user was doing, and you can basically keep track of it. Basically, the possibilities are almost endless, I would say, and it really depends what kind of data you want to get. And for XR or for AR, when using mobile devices, you can do the same thing with input events. So when a user presses the screen, where the screen got pressed, or if you use multi-touch, all that is possible.
Awesome. Cool. Great job. It's Lucas' first time presenting in VR, even though he spends all days in VR developing VR training. So you did a great job.
Thanks.
Cool. So I'm wondering, guys, you can ask him anything. You can ask me anything. Please click the raise hand button if you have any questions you would like to ask to a developer. Right, we have one question coming in from Viswick. You're a megaphone. Go ahead.
Hi, Luca.
Hi.
You were talking about the Vive Pro with eye tracking, and then you were talking about some of the data that you can log. So does that come with like the software with the Vive Pro eye tracker, or how complicated is that to kind of set up?
As far as I know, it doesn't come with the software, so it's really for developers to take advantage of that technology.
So would you do that all in Unity, or?
Yeah, for example, you could do that in Unity, probably also in Unreal, but I'm experienced with Unity, so
right.
It would be possible.
Cool.
Awesome, thanks. Great. Anyone got another question? We are discussing this topic after this, so Luca and I will join the discussion groups, and you can always come up to us. But we have some questions coming in. So Michael, you're now on megaphone. Go ahead.
Hello. So if we are recruiting participants in social VR to conduct interviews or surveys, what aspects of conducting research in social VR should we be aware of to try to reduce bias or to better random sample?
I would say make sure that the users are comfortable. Make sure that the tracking works properly, so there are no things that hinder the user in their experience or things that break the immersion. Yeah, so you kind of establish, how do you say, like a consistent framework for the whole tests. And maybe if a user has no experience with VR, maybe first give them a kind of tutorial or some kind of introduction, I would say.
Definitely. Are you asking this question on any specific social application or situation, Michael? Oh, can you click the raise hand button so I can put you on megaphone again?
Yep.
Yes.
So I plan on conducting research in AltSpace VR soon, and
Mhm.
I had a concern of like being able to get a random sample, given different factors like depending on what time you're in AltSpace VR, you're going to have a different population of people from different places in the world just based on time zones. And I was just trying to figure out how to deal with those other variables.
Yes, that's a really tricky thing to tackle, I think. Of course, you can adapt your research to the specific group you are able to target. I think a completely random sample, of course, it really depends on your research, of course, but if you are doing research, for example, about the effect of social VR on loneliness, as we have heard before from Keith, and you are actually looking for people who are just came in VR or never experienced VR. It's a little bit tricky because often in AltSpace you have a group of people who are already into VR, already into social experiences. There, of course, there are a couple of people new here, but it's really hard to filter the target group you need. So you say you use, for example, a survey. Maybe you can put some like filter questions in the survey before they even start on the true core of your research. For example, if important thing would be that people have at least 2 months of experience with social VR or are online for a couple of hours per week, for example. Put that in first. So the people who answer no or on that question will be filtered out and will get a message like, "Oh, I'm sorry, but you are not the right participant for this study," or something like that. So that might be helpful. Does that help? Right. Good. Let's see. We have another question from Camperman. Keith.
Hi, Luca.
Hi.
So I'm not sure if you answered my question partly already. I know you mentioned the Vive. I'm really interested in the eye tracking and the potential that has in the future in the scenario I'm working with in the field of psychology as well. So I'd like to be able to create a stimulus inside of VR and then track for how long, for example, a person has been focusing on that stimulus. Have you had any? I know you mentioned that you use Unity and you get data out of the Vive into Unity. Does it kind of plot it on some kind of like, I don't know, does it plot it on a graph of where the person's been looking, or do you have any experience of that?
Not necessarily out of the box. There are probably some plugins or assets for that. I wouldn't know because I haven't done it myself. But yeah, I mean, if you have a developer, he could probably also just create a graph out of the data. But out of the box, it's not happening.
I mean, maybe the graph. I mean, the graph's probably the wrong word. I'm thinking, what do you? I mean, I'm also a bit of a computer scientist as well, so I know that you can get literally every position. I'm guessing you can get every single position out of the headset, so that you could say the person's looked in this direction for X amount of time, and then this direction for X amount of time. I'm just kind of wondering what that data looks like, whether it literally does come in of loads of X, Y, Z positions, or whether you've got something that helps you to visualize that. That's kind of what I'm aiming for.
Okay, yeah, I get your question. Well, yeah, it literally looks like basically a vector-3 with a timestamp, and then you have a really long JSON file or a binary file. But I have not that much experience with processing that data yet. So
Okay, cool.
yeah,
So
don't
we do
really
need
know,
some
but
plugins, don't we? We need some apps that really help us with that when
yeah,
you know when so like I think Evelyn, yeah, like some kind of SDK that helps us with that process basically.
I think so.
That would
Either
be
that
really useful.
or a developer writes that on his own.
Yeah. Thank you. That's great. That's great.
You're welcome.
Thanks for your question. Awesome. So we have another question from this way. Go ahead.
Hi. I was just going to follow up on what Camperman was just talking about, in that there are other workarounds for that too, in that you could get a eye tracking pair of eyeglasses that you wear underneath a VR headset. And then if you're buying those, they're coming from a company that supports them with their software. So
Oh, that's a
I've
good
worked
idea.
with, so I've worked with, I have a couple of eye trackers in my lab. They're not VR and they're not glasses. They're actually ones that project at your face and then just track based off of that, looking at screens. But you can get other ones that are like a pair, just a small pair, like the size of regular glass that you'd put on. And so you can wear them underneath a VR headset. And then those ones that support with those is nice that they have all the software. So it'll pull it all out for you. It'll plot it all for you. It'll put it into Excel spreadsheets for you, all nice and neat, ready to do analysis on. And so, but then if you want to integrate the head position and the eye position, you have to do that separately because they'd be coming from separate sources. Anyway, just stuff to think about.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Awesome.
iMotions.
Thanks for your input.
iMotions is one other company. iMotions is a company that does that stuff, and so does what's the one? She's the one we have in our lab, and I can't even think of it right now. Maybe I'll think of it later. Sorry.
No worries.
Raise your hand again if you think about it later. Thanks for the addition. Great addition. I also heard that Matt the scientist wanted to add something. So
Yeah.
you have Matt. Yay, go ahead.
When the avatar is already having your eye caption, it's when you go to the menu and changing your avatar, it's blinking the eyes when you do.
Yeah, indeed, it's blinking. It's an animation.
Yeah.
But we are talking about the eye capture
That's very
within the
strange.
headset. You don't like the blinking of the avatars?
No, I like it, but it's very strange.
It's created to create a little bit more immersion, a little bit more presence.
Yeah.
But we are actually talking about eye tracking within a headset. So the devices can track where you look at, not per se the avatar, but really where you look at your physical eyes, not your VR eyes. Have you heard of that that's possible?
Yeah, it's very strange when you see that.
All right. All right. Well, thanks for your input.
Of course.
All right, Michael, you have another question.
I'm good, thanks. I didn't have one.
Oh, you're good. Okay. So if you have a question and you don't anymore, please click the raise hand button again so you lower your hand. So then I won't put you on air while you don't have any questions. So the next question is from Laura. Laura, go ahead. Where are you?
Hi. I was just wondering if anybody had any experience with the eye tracking from a company called Toby.
Me personally, no. If you have any experience, please put up some emoticons. All right. If you want to say something about that, Eponymous, can you raise your hand? You want to say something about it, or you're fine? All right, there you go. Go ahead. You're on air. But we can't hear you. Ah. Maybe you can re-enter the room. That might fix it. All right. See you soon. Right, Laura, you just wanted to hear some experiences about it, by the way?
Yeah, it was just, I happened to see it recently and have seen some experiences on, people have been saying good things about it online. And I just wondered if anybody else had any experiences, because we're thinking about incorporating it into some of the VR that we're doing. So it would just be great to hear firsthand if anybody had actually had any experience or not.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, we can wait for him to come back. Has anybody got experience as well? Anthony? All right, let me give you the megaphone. Go ahead.
So funnily enough, the brand name I couldn't think of before was Tobii.
Ah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's also great. Tobii,
yes,
how do you spell that?
Tobii.
All right, cool.
They might be from the Netherlands, actually.
That could be, yeah. I don't know.
Oddly enough. Yeah, I have two Tobii eye trackers in my lab, and they are ones where you look at a screen. So they're not for VR, they're for looking at a computer screen. So one of them has basically at the bottom of the screen, it has infrared that bounces off your eyes and then receivers that pick it back up. And so they can track exactly where you're looking at the screen. And then when you're looking at your computer later, you can see what the screen was. And then there's like little dots on the screen that show exactly where you were looking and for how long. And then that can also all be outputted as data, like in Excel spreadsheets. And that's kind of how all the Tobii trackers work. I have another one that is like a bar that's separate, so you can put it anywhere. So if someone was watching a movie screen big, and you just put it in front of them, like a meter in front of them, and it'll just track where their eyes are looking. And then, as we were talking about earlier, they make ones that are like a pair of glasses that you can put on. And they used to have a cord that came down, and there was like a little thing like the size of a cell phone that would be the data collector. They might have gotten to a point where it's all in the glasses now, I'm not sure, or you might still need the external device. They all work great. I mean, the tracking is really quite precise now. The data sets are pretty accurate. The only problem is it's all quite expensive. So these companies, like we're talking in the $5s to $10s of thousands of dollars for some of this stuff.
Wow.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Like the very first one that we bought, so this would be 7 or 8 years ago, we paid $45,000 for it. Now they come way down from that. But yeah, they're more like 5,000 in the 2,000 and 10,000 range now. But so they're expensive.
Well, it's getting there, you know.
But they do work very well. Anyway.
Right. Good to know. Thanks. Awesome. Okay, I think we have time for one last question from Amanda K.
Hi. How you doing?
Hey.
Thank you so much for that talk. That was really great. And I noticed Luca said something about a smartwatch that can take measurements automatically as you're like a band that you wear. I was wondering if you were talking about the Empatica, like that does EDA, the skin conductivity.
Yes, that was what we were talking about, indeed.
I'm just curious if you do, because my research up till now has always focused on neurocognitive measurements and creating artificial neural networks with neurocognitive measurements, but not in VR, when just looking at a computer screen, 2D and 3D objects. I was just curious if you know people doing research on, developing artificial neural networks with, these neurocognitive measurements from VR, because I'd like to work with those people.
Good question. Do I know people like that? I might, yes. I think you have sent me a friend request, right? So
yes, I have.
I can get into touch with you, but it's also interesting for you maybe to post something on the Discord, on for example, Discord Help Wanted, and people can contact you through there. So if somebody already knows somebody right now in the audience, I hope Amanda will post something on the Discord so you can find her back with her question.
No, absolutely.
And then you can reach out to her.
Awesome. Thank you again for this opportunity. I appreciate it. Yeah.
No problem. Happy to help. All right. Well, I guess that was it for our little talk. But now it's time for the discussion like we always do. And for the ones who are new, I would advise you to go outside, because then you can talk in peace with people. Try to form a group of 3 or 4 people and talk about what the opportunities and challenges are for gathering data in XR environments. And we will do this for, let's say, 15 minutes or so, 15, 20 minutes. And I will tell you when to come back, and we will discuss it in the group, and I will give you some opportunities to promote your research or ask questions to the group as well. So Luke and I will be joining you. We will also go outside to talk. If you don't feel comfortable to go outside and talk with others, just do whatever makes you feel happy. You're not obligated to talk to anyone. Just saying. Right. Well, let's go ahead. Let's move outside. Over here is the door next to Fox. So, great.
Faster than having to wait to play with a person. Right?
All right, welcome back. I hope you guys met some interesting people, got to know each other a little bit better, or got some information you were looking for. So if you feel like you want to talk more to people after this meeting, after 12 minutes or so, you can just stick around here in this space. I will keep it open for you to network or talk or hang out. So that won't be a problem. Yeah, okay. I really would like to give you the opportunity to promote yourself or ask a question to the group. So you know the drill. You can click the raise hand button if you want to promote your research or ask anything to the audience or me or Luca, to whomever is here in the room. So if you're interested in that, please click the raise hand button. Also for the ones who have already talked about their research before, I would love to hear an update. I think that would be interesting as well. All right, Eponymous, you're back. Great.
Oh, yeah. What was I going to ask? Yeah, if anybody has any experience with data visualization and Qualtrics and just like easy ways to convert Qualtrics data into cool VR or AR visualizations.
I can't hear him. Can you guys hear him?
Yeah.
Oh, you can?
Maybe
Or...
maybe somebody can actually can hear. Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Now it's fine.
Oh, okay. I was going to say if anybody has any experience with the visualization, Qualtrics or other Survey Monkey or something like that, where you just gather raw data and easy ways to convert that into VR visualizations. If there are any specific tools that people could recommend. I'm sorry if that's been covered. I missed part of the presentation.
No, that's fine. So you're looking for ways how to visualize data from Qualtrics or Google Forms or something like that in VR.
Yeah, exactly. So you could like
how? What do you have in mind?
Well, either for analysis or for presentation purposes. So for analysis, I would imagine viewing it like that would be one usage of that, and then for presentation purposes, basically like the equivalent of a PowerPoint chart, but in VR with a little more depth to it.
That's a great question. I can actually tell you a little bit more about that. In Altspace, you have the ability to make a presentation like I already did. You can use the program slides.com or Google Forms, but I really prefer slides.com. It's more stable. To present whatever you want to present, you can just import your PowerPoint presentation into slides.com and then present it like I'm doing. The next thing you could do is share your screen. You can actually watch the video back on Educators in VR YouTube channel, the one that I give for the Student in VR conference. Let me grab the slides. This one, it has the same front picture. Here we show how you can share your screen and get live results back on the screen. So you see participants fill in the survey and the results stream in, as you can see on the screen. So it's like live feedback, which is pretty cool. So if you want to know how to do that, you can check that out on YouTube. Um, does that answer your question, or would you like some more input from the audience?
Yeah, I think the presentation is a great aspect of VR. I think maybe I'm thinking more complex visualizations that allow me to just represent data points, for example.
Of course. Yeah, you can be super
tools that allow me
creative
to
with it.
construct that. Yeah, exactly. I'm imagining like point cloud data or things like that on large scales, like to view
Yeah.
for like, using the advantage of 3 dimensions to view discrepancies in data easier, for example. The tools that might allow me to do that.
Well, if somebody wants to add something to that, you can unmute yourself.
Anything in general that people get impressed by that VR brings to the table in terms of data analysis and presentation.
We can help.
Does anybody want to elaborate on that?
Yeah.
Can you give me some emoticons? Okay, Laura, can you raise your hand as well? Yeah, you did. Great. Okay, here you go.
Yeah, just for everybody else as well. So we do, my company is called Slanted Theory, and we do large-scale data visualization. So we generally take large-scale data sets, complex data sets, and design completely new ways of looking at data visualizations. So if the data sets that you're looking at in terms of 3D are along those lines, I'm happy to have a conversation and talk to you about what we do. The question I always ask in that when we're thinking about data visualization is that what can we provide in terms of what's better in 3D than it is in 2D, because obviously we have the barrier of the headsets of people getting into that kind of realm when they're looking at the data. But we have a lot of use cases that have gone over everything from customer services all the way through to HR. So happy to talk to anybody, and I would love if anybody has any interesting use cases, please ask me to be a friend, and I'd love to discuss it with you. And I'm very new to AltSpace, so this is my first time.
Oh, really welcome. Thank you already for all the inputs. Don't hesitate to join the Discord as well. I think a lot of people can use your opinion or experience on this topic as well.
Laura, does your company put out new information on Twitter regularly for projects that you've been working on? So I just caught that you were on Twitter as well.
Yeah, we do. We do put stuff out on Twitter, but we're really bad at social media. So we've got a website if you want to take a look at that. We are updating it with some use cases that we're working on. But yeah, so just look for Slanted Theory, and there'll be our contact details there as well.
Awesome. Well, this is great. I love that you guys are networking like this. This is what these meetings are all intended for, basically. Great. Next question, maybe. So we have a question from Matthijs B.
Yeah, actually, to add up to data visualization and those kind of things, actually, maybe it's important to think about, for example, I heard the term point cloud. You could turn your point cloud into something that represents actual unit like meters or whatever. And it could be interesting, for example, to see how do people navigate through this point cloud. You could see if it's ergonomic, see if people can reach for things, or when we talked before about, for example, eye tracking, you could create a heat map. You could see where people look more often. Same for navigation. You can see where people have walked more often, which areas they spend a lot of time in. So,
like a three-dimensional heat map visualization, I think, is an excellent way to describe the things that I'm trying to describe.
Exactly.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Hey, you are Matthijs, my colleague as well, right?
Yes, I'm your colleague.
Awesome. Well, it's great that the whole company joins the meetings. I'm really glad to have you here, and thank you for your input as well.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. All right. We have another question, or maybe an answer from Laura.
Sorry, you're calling on me again. Oh,
I
forgot to unraise my hand. I'm sorry.
All right, that's no problem at all. Don't worry about it. Thanks. All right. Thank you guys so much for your attention. I now would really like to give Geraldine the megaphone. Can you raise your hand, please? If you're in the audience, because Geraldine will provide us with a workshop next Tuesday. Are you still here? Yes, you are. Great. Awesome. Okay. Come on stage. Come up to the front. Ooh, I'm worried you just froze. Oh no. All right, let's give her a second. Then I will start with thanking the ones who are here to help tonight. Fox, Keith, Ron, Diamond, and Luca, of course. Thank you so much for being here to moderate, to film, and to provide us with a lot of information. I really appreciate it. And as you can see, look around you, the audience appreciates it as well. Look at that. You did great for the first time presenting in VR, Luca.
Thanks. Thanks.
All right.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
Cool. So Geraldine, you are on megaphone as well, I think. So you can tell us a little bit more about our workshop. Yay.
I'm back. Thank you, Evelyn. Can everybody can hear me properly?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, great. Yes, so I will be speaking next week, thanks to Evelyn and the great community, and I would like to present to you my research. So I developed a company called XR Pedagogy, and we are working on the serious game to prepare young people for natural disaster. And so the aim of our company, in fine, would be to develop online courses for teacher and homeschooler. And we took the example of this training because we are based in Guadeloupe, so in an island in the Caribbean Sea, and we are exposed to hurricane. So I would be very happy next week to present the work because effective training of young people is, of course, foundation of disaster preparedness efforts. And VR appears really promising because in its ability to bridge the gap of other commonly established training formats. And so the idea for us is to build a proof of concept and to study the denial of danger. So I'd like to present to you and got your input as well on the research because we would love to push this experiment further. So for now, so please come next week, same time, I think.
Yes. Yes, same time as always. If you can't make
I'll
it,
be
you can find it
super
back on the YouTube channel. And I'm really excited to have you here. I already have seen a sneak peek of her research on another conference, and it's really worth your time. That's my
Thank
opinion,
you.
but it's really interesting.
I'll do
All
my
right.
best to make it interactive.
Yeah, you have a lot to show as well because she made a whole application about it. So it's really fun to see what she has made next to the research she has done. Cool.
Thank you.
So thank you all so much for joining. Don't forget to join the Discord if you want to continue staying in touch with us. Of course, the next meetup will be in 2 weeks. Same time as always, you can find the event back on the event page and you can put it in your agenda if you are someone who wants to attend but keeps forgetting events. Yep, people are like that. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. So I hope to see you next event or in 2 weeks during our meetup or on Discord, of course. So don't hesitate to stick around if you feel like it. And else, I will see you next time, I hope. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Yes, thank you.